What's up, everybody? It's your boy DrewSpacely here again to talk to you guys about some RE4 Remake. How is the full experience now that the entire game is out? Does it live up to my expectations as an RE superfan? But before we get started, if you guys have been watching my content for a little bit, please consider subscribing. It would mean the world to me, and I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers before Halloween. Thanks. Now let's get into it. Resident Evil 4 Remake, a classic survival horror game made by Capcom, the creators of the survival horror genre, the masters of remakes, and the leader in the industry when it comes to graphics and body horror. Resident Evil 4's star character, Leon S. Kennedy, is a survivor of the Raccoon City disaster from the Resident Evil 2 remake, and sometimes afterwards was forced into the Secret Service. The game starts out as Leon being driven into Eastern Europe by local police officers to find the American president's missing daughter, Ashley Graham. Along Leon's mission, he enters a village where everything ain't as it seems, and he quickly learns that something is terribly wrong with the villagers as they welcome him with face tentacles and chainsaws. Much like the original, the intro to the village is intense and in your face the entire time. I always felt like villagers were on my heels, and I was on the tip of my toes. Enemy designs are top notch, and almost all characters are built upon from the original models from the OG RE4. Shooting in the game feels smooth, and the upgraded knife mechanic, where there's an emphasis on deflecting attacks, only adds another layer to the overall combat, and gives you a get out of jail free card, as long as you're always holding onto a knife. This is something on lower difficulties could make the game incredibly easy, or in higher difficulties such as professional will add a way to negate damage, but blocking and deflecting isn't guaranteed considering you're restricted to only perfect blocks. So I found it better to all around weave and dodge, and to keep my distance rather than depend on my knife. Most guns in the game, besides a special few, are all bought through the merchant, a mysterious fella whose entire being is fueled through his lust for greed. The merchant will sell just about anything to anyone as long as the price is right, and his addition in the game adds great value in the form of decision making and upgrades for Leon and his arsenal. So in return, adding great depth to the game's progression. Killing ganados, cultists, and plagas monsters will give you pesetas, a Spanish gold coin. Also, gems and treasures can be found scattered around the map to sell to the merchant, and you can even combine some of these treasures to raise their value and get more pesetas, and purchase more loot to help Leon survive. All the characters we love from the original make a return here in this remake, whether that's Ada Wong, Lewis, Jack Krauser, or Salazar. Ah yes, I am a Salazar simp. Funny you should ask. Once we make our way to the castle section of the game, the enemy variety really opens up. We're introduced to red zealots, Garradors, all sorts of head-bursting enemies, and armaduras. Salazar's castle might be the most beautiful and most intricate part of the game, and it's also where the game takes a significant difficulty spike. Some notable areas are Novicidor's room and Double Garrador, all masterfully placed back to back, leading into your fight with the Vertigo, to make that S+ run extra spicy on a professional difficulty, and to ensure you bang your head against that brick wall. Thanks, Capcom. Overall, the castle was a real highlight for the remake. Even though I was a little bit disappointed that the lava pits got cut, but for realism's sake, at least that cut content makes sense for the overall tone of the game. Next up was the island section, which was most people's least favorite part of the original Resident Evil 4. Personally, I always loved the island, so seeing that it's mainly intact and is pretty much the same made me happy. Standout moments are, of course, regenerators. They're still scary and brutal as ever, and hard as nails to kill unless you use a rifle with a heat-seeking scope to pick off their plagas. Now the main game did have some cut content, but it was later returned in the Separate Ways DLC in the form of giving Ada Wong her actual story that's canon this time and stands apart from Leon's. Now, I went through Separate Ways DLC, and I got the S+ on Professional and unlocked all items just like I did for the base game. Overall, I think Separate Ways only built upon the legacy of RE4 in a positive way. I will say I was skeptical considering less than solid voice acting from the actress who plays Ada in the base game, but I would say that she actually surprised me with some decent voice acting this time. Separate Ways might even be the best DLC Capcom has ever created. Fan favorite bosses also return in the form of U3, aka the Black Robe, or Pacenta, and even some cut areas such as the Novicidor sewers, the drill sequence, and the trolley ride all return. Now initially when RE4 Remake was released, it was without the mercenaries, an extra time-based horde mode, where you play as iconic characters in the RE4 and Resident Evil lore. Ah, the mercenaries, my guilty pleasure. After about a week, Capcom announced it would be added to the game for free, and upon its launch came 4 playable characters, with different loadouts and 3 stages, but 2 notable characters who were a part of the original game's mercenaries, Ada Wong and Albert Wesker, were missing at the time of launch. But that all changed when Capcom announced they would release a Separate Ways DLC, and they were adding both of these characters to the game for free, along with 2 playable characters and an extra stage, which in some ways act as a hard mode for the mercenaries content. And by the way, the new stage kicks ass. Say hello to Super Salvador. The mercenaries in RE4 was always a special addition to the game, and I can confidently say that as of the DLC's release, the mercenaries is back in true form. Around launch, I only dabbled in the mercenaries a little bit, considering majority of my time was spent getting S+ runs in the main game. But since the new additions and a special unlock that was added to the mode in the form of Leon S. Kennedy's RPD outfit from the RE2 remake, if you S+ all stages with all characters and mercenaries, I was determined to meet that challenge. And let me tell you, a challenge indeed. And yes, I did meet that challenge. To me, that was the one suit for Leon I wanted, and was so bummed when it wasn't in the base game. Overall, Capcom went hard for RE4 Remake. This might even be the best remake to date. If you couldn't tell, I love RE4 Remake. Item management is some of the best in the series, and taking down hordes of Ganados and cultists is as addicting as ever. If I had to put a number on Resident Evil 4 Remake, it would be a 10 out of 10. Now, a perfect game is hard to come by, but for me, what this game sets out to be and what it accomplishes in its complete form is perfection. Capcom delivered, and fans of action horror and survival horror will both be eating good from this game. No content was left on the table, and this is ultimately how a remake should be and how it should feel. I love the new additions, and I love the way they incorporated the old. This game's polished, rarely ever encountering bugs, and the graphics are incredible in 2023, and that's hard to come by. I waited to do this review because I wanted the entire game in its completed form before I jumped the gun, and for its price point, this game is worth the money and a Game of the Year nomination. Now, thank you guys so much if you stayed the entire time. It means the world to me to have people watch and engage with my content. Please like, comment, subscribe, do anything you guys can to help me. I am just one guy, and I make these videos because it is my passion on the games that we love. So thank you guys very much, and have a nice day. Peace. Okay. Now, I know this is just a video game character, but god damn, is Ada fine as hell. Look at her. Sexy little cat.